Welcome to Bangkok ChitChat, or soon to be called Thailand ChitChat. Today we've got the Hua Hin report with Richard Buckle. So let's just get straight to it. So Richard, how's things with you?
Good, thank you. The weather is fabulous down here at the moment. Really fantastic, and in fact the whole town seems to be becoming a little bit more alive. The feeling's fairly positive for a change.
All right, well, you look happy with it anyway.
I'm all right.
Right.
You see me in my little studio today.
I think fantastic with Surf 102.5 in the background. Yeah, so that's
that's the banner. Actually, we have a little on-air thing. Yeah, it says on air there, so you can see that. So okay. We take that. We've got 2 or 3 of these things, so we take them all over the place.
Well, just to let everybody know, with regards to 102.5, you can get that within the Hua Hin area on FM, but what I do is I actually listen to it in Bangkok through their internet radio. So it's contemporary sort of 70s, 80s music sort of thing. Yeah, is that correct?
Well, mainly 80s, 90s up to today. We play a few older ones as well. So a lot of variety in that. And you can hear us all over Thailand. Just Google the radio station and then you should be able to listen to us on one of the apps or on the website.
Okay, so what's happening down in Hua Hin? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think things are starting to happen. There's a lot of activity. There are more groups getting together now that restrictions have been eased quite a bit. I think, there are a lot of running groups and social groups. There are dog walking groups. There are people gathering on the beach, a lot more stuff going on in general. And as we were considering just a moment ago, there's going to be the marathon, which is the Hua Hin Marathon, taking place on May the 8th. That's coming up in a few weeks. But the reason I mention it first is because if you're into that sort of thing, the time is to register now for that.
That's 8th of May,
There are several races. There's a quarter marathon, half marathon, a full marathon, and everything in between. And that takes place just south of Hua Hin, around the army areas and around the Seven Kings Park.
So I know you're a fitness freak, so are you getting involved in this, yeah?
No, I'm not going to go. No. Not at all. No, I do my bicycle in the morning and that's enough.
You'll just drive along in the car.
We might take the radio station and we might do it in the car and take the radio station.
Right, okay, all right. So that's the 8th of May. We'll cover the COVID situation just now because that relates to it, because just now Thailand's on a high, one of the highest levels of Omicron. But the whole point of you saying it is to do with you're having these events. So do you find that people are they're just used to living with the COVID situation? They get used to it. They're taking care and they're saying, "Listen, get on with life." What's the general atmosphere? I mean, Patia said that basically a lot of people are wearing masks. But in the pubs and or that kind of thing, or the restaurant, that they're not. So what's the general attitude down in Hua Hin?
I think everybody's wearing masks going out and about, and certainly in the shops and in restaurants and things, people are wearing masks. But there are more events being held. I went to a British Chamber of Commerce event down at the Amari Hotel the other evening. And once we got in there, nobody was wearing a mask, but everybody had to take a test before going in and show proof of that test. So this is becoming a bit of a norm. And I've got another meeting on Friday, tomorrow, where again they want me to take a test before going into the meeting. So there are lots of people getting together, but, it's showing there's a sense of responsibility, which I think is quite positive. Right. And, people are getting together. Expats tend not to wear the masks. The Thais are always wearing masks. So, there is a little bit of that going on now. So, whereas perhaps a few months ago, everybody was wearing a mask all the time. Now, the expats are not so much.
So when you say expats, you mean in events or in public? Because it's still a legal requirement to wear a mask in public.
Well, out on the street, yes, of course, and in the shopping malls. But at these events, or if you're going into a hotel, or if you're going into, a private area, but a group of people, for example, or a small party, People are tending not to wear the masks quite so much.
So when you get this test, which is a test you can just buy from the local 7-Eleven, yeah, I think it's about 70 baht or something like that, yeah, for a test kit.
I guess we have a whole stock of them here. I got loads of them, so I don't know where or how much.
Yeah, about 70 baht, yeah.
Yeah, it ranges.
Ranges different places, yeah. Okay, but for going into the events, you've got to do that test 24 hours beforehand, yeah.
Yeah, the last event I did it about 30 minutes, but I actually forgot to do it and did it on my way into the event as I was leaving the house. But that's okay.
So what I read was just now in Pet Shop, which is not just Hua Hin, but the district, yeah, or province, is basically you had 234 new cases on the 5th, so that's in one day, yeah, and basically 41 cases in Hua Hin.
Basically, people are getting tested here, and the numbers had gone pretty high, up to 450, 500 one day last week.
Wow.
And they've come down to around a couple of hundred this week.
That's right.
So obviously there's been a bit of a surge, but with the numbers of people that have been vaccinated, the cases have not been so serious. And in fact, I now know quite a few people around here who have caught COVID and have just been at home to recover, and that's worked okay.
Right. And they're also talking about, as of July, that they'll be classed as an endemic rather than a pandemic, and they will remove restrictions. Yeah, but we'll see what happens, because we've got Songkran coming up in April. Yeah, so that's April the 6th. April the 6th through is one holiday, and then you've got, I think it's the 13th. Yeah, through to the 16th is another holiday in April. So when they come back, just like after New Year, there might be an increase, because you'll find that we've found in the Konsi Tamarat and places like that where people have travelled up to Bangkok, or they've been travelling around, they've been spreading it. So hopefully there won't be a recurrence, but I think the fact is that people are just living with it, and that's it.
I think so, generally. I noticed also in Bangkok, at the Grand Central Station, whatever they call it, they're doing free walk-in tests now, aren't they, up in Bangkok? And I think, testing is really the key. And just getting jabbed is really the key. So people are just living with it now, and I think that's, people just want to get on with their lives, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. I think over the past few months we've beaten the hell out of the COVID issue, but
Sure.
All right. So what else is happening down there? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think there's progress being made at the airport. They've been running up and down with rollers and tarmac over the past few months to try and widen the airport runway quite a bit, and that seems to be making quite good progress. There were plans to hold a concert here, but of course, with COVID and everything, those plans have had to be put on hold for a little while. But I believe there are still going to be events at Hua Hin Airport fairly soon. I don't have a firm date or anything just yet, because the COVID restrictions are still going. A couple of other things that have been going on. We attended the La Grappa charity golf event last week. That was at the Banyan Golf Course. They actually had a lot of fun there. It was very good, very casual. They had a couple of hundred people at this event, a lot of people. Again, having to take a test before appearing at the golf course. We broadcast from the event for a few hours. And then there was a dinner in the evening where they auctioned off some amazing prizes. Rounds of golf in Hong Kong, for example, if only you could actually get to Hong Kong, which you can't at the moment.
Valid for 2 months.
Stays but, some of these prizes were going for 80, 90, over 100,000 baht. And that money was going to a foundation called Charity Hua Hin. In Charity Hua Hin, they take care mainly of Thai disabled children and families that have disability and are really struggling. And that event raised at one point, I think, just over 1 million baht.
Wow.
Which was terrific, just in the one-day event. So that was La Grappa, which is actually an Italian restaurant which is closed temporarily. They're actually building a new one up at Black Mountain somewhere. So that's due to open before the end of the year. So that was La Grappa's charity golf event. They did really well. The other thing that took place last weekend was something called Track Time Thailand, which is a motorcycle event. Track Time Thailand was organized up at Ken Krachang. There is actually a track. We don't like to call it race circuit. At least John doesn't like to call it a race circuit, but that's basically what it is. And it is fabulous.
Oh, to hell with what John
It
thinks.
is a superb racing circuit, and they had all these bikes going around. They're very, very concerned with safety. You know, they've got different colored categories for people's abilities to ride motorcycles. So, you know, people are not just chucked on a 1,000cc bike and expected to go for it. But I think they had a terrific day. I didn't actually go along to that one. I had something else on that day. But I gathered they had a couple of hundred people there, about 100 cyclists, motorcyclists, and they're all going around the track and having a great time. So they do this. Track Time Thailand takes place about every 4 months, 3 or 4 months, depending on the COVID situation. And that's up at Ken Krachang, just about an hour's drive from here.
All right. So just another thing, back to the golf. I see that there was discussion about the issues the golfers have had. One is to do with COVID, but another thing was in Hua Hin. Pattaya seemed to get a lot of golfers because they could fly in directly into Pattaya, yeah, and also Phuket, yeah, and Phuket being the key one because that was a sandbox, yeah. So if you're in quarantine, you could play golf, and Hua Hin was quite dismal for them. However, with the changing in the status, what they're seeing now is Hua Hin is getting a rush of people, yeah, to go and play golf. And with the opening of the airport, it's going to make a massive difference. So that's something quite good to hear. Yeah? And also, there's going to be on the 18th to 14th of May, you'll have the Central World Golf Masters Championship. Yeah, and this is something which has actually spurred people to actually come and play golf, so they can watch that as well.
I was just going to say, there's one other event I've just discovered or rediscovered or seen that's just coming up on the 9th of April, and that's beach polo. It used to be an annual event, and
beach
that
polo
has obviously not been running for a couple of years.
How can you play polo on a beach? You play it in the water.
On the beach in front of the Intercontinental Hotel.
So it's in the sea, yeah? Has to be.
Well, it's on the beach, not quite in the sea, because you've got horses.
Yeah, but that's not polo. Polo. All right, okay, that polo. I'm thinking of water polo because it's a beach. All right, okay.
This is horses running up and down the beach and playing polo. On to a couple of other things. We all know that the Russians have had a rough time here in Thailand, quite a lot of them, and the Ukrainians. I went and had a coffee with a friend of mine who's from Russia. We had a coffee yesterday. In fact, I was hoping to get a short interview with him at a fairly base sort of level for the radio. He didn't really want to do that exactly, but we hung out for about an hour and a half talking the situation. And he's obviously from Russia. His wife is Ukrainian. And they have been living actually in Thailand for the last couple of years because of COVID. But luckily, financially they're okay. In fact, he used to be a banker, and he's in his mid-40s, so quite well established and financially okay, unlike a lot of people that have been stranded here. But it was interesting to actually learn. I mean, I won't go into too much depth or anything, but basically in terms of the situation in Ukraine, my friend was he actually put up a little banner up on his social media to say, we support Ukraine and stop the war. So a lot of Russians are in favor of there not being a war and want this whole thing to stop because they can see where it's going. But conversely, he says around 70, more than 70% of the Russian population are just swamped by propaganda on their television 24 hours a day. And, about 70% or so believe, that Russia's doing the right thing. And so there's a lot of difficulty, obviously, in Russia, because also we've seen on television here about people protesting and being arrested and things as well. So it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. But I did feel for this guy, because he is kind of stuck here and they can't go anywhere. But on the other hand, at least he's financially sound and okay. But it does appear that, the sanctions are hurting in terms of not being able to move money around, and not, aircraft are not being allowed to fly into, Thailand and things from Russia sometimes. So this has caused a lot of problems. And of course, it's going to hurt the Thai tourism industry over the next few months.
That was one of the points I was going to bring up, is that you say propaganda. Let's be honest; it's on both sides. I mean, look at some of the information we got after the Iraq War. Yeah, I think it's disgusting that they went to the point where they actually went into invade a country. Yeah, when there was no aggression in the first place. But it's the people it's the population of Ukraine, and for that matter Russia. Yeah, where they're being hurt because of politics, greed, and expansionism. Yeah, and I think all sides are guilty of that to an extent. Yeah, and also the big lack of things is the lack of planning. Ukrainians don't even know what the result is. And I saw some stuff to do with a lot of Russians, and they were actually saying this is older people. Yeah, it wasn't young. Yeah, it was all older people. 50, 60 plus. Yeah, and they were quite happy to go back into the Soviet way of living, yeah, because they were guaranteed. They're guaranteed a living, they're guaranteed housing, they're guaranteed food, guaranteed everything, yeah, under the Soviets,
under the Russians, yes.
Yeah. So, but what I was interested in hearing is they can't get money. However, China through Union Pay. They can start getting money out that way, yeah? And also there's other services like Kiwi and U-Money that are providing money transfer services to and from Russia. So there is ways of getting it, but they can't use their Visa card. They can get money out. The bigger issue is what they're saying now is what they would get. They get 1 baht. Well, for 1 baht they would get 2 rubles before. Now it is 4 rubles for 1 baht. So it's doubling. And costs and things are going up by 3 times. That's the expectation.
Sure.
Yeah? So it's a huge difficulty for both Ukrainians and Russians. But it's funny you say, speaking to Ukrainians, speaking to Russians, a lot of them have the same opinion. And I feel sorry, because the first question they'll get is, "Oh, you're Russian." It's a bit like when we had the Scottish referendum. All I got was, "So what's your opinion in the Scottish referendum? What do you think?" Yeah. Well, number one, it's none of your business. Yeah. But blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So they must be sick to death. And of course, there's some idiots who will blame them as if they're Putin. It must be tough. Must be tough for them.
It's extremely difficult, isn't it? It was also interesting in the early days of that conflict last week, when the Ukrainians were changing some of the road signposts to say, turn left to The Hague, turn right, The Hague, straight on, The Hague, U-turn, The Hague. So there was a bit of a sense of humor, and then they were putting up, rude words and things on some of the signs. But that was a couple of weeks ago, just after the invasion. And of course, things have got a lot more serious since, particularly the bombing of a hospital just last night, which sadly had pregnant women in and children and things. So, it's got extremely serious. And
I think there's going to be far more, and then they will basically say, "Listen, we created a humanitarian corridor, yeah."
Sure.
And people didn't leave, so that was up to them. I think, and then they'll start bombing heavily. Yeah. The question is, and the scary thing is, will the Western nations come in to assist? I think the answer on the no-fly zones is still no. However, I get a feeling that you may find that the Baltic nations start coming together, yeah, because they're in the front line, and they create their own little group. So armaments, Poland turned around and said, well, we'll give you the aircraft, US, and you give them to Ukrainians. Now that was the issue. Wait a minute, now you're bringing the US into it. But Poland, if Poland gave it direct to Ukraine, what would the effect be? Or if Poland, Romania, Hungary, and all the other smaller countries all came together and they said, well, tell you what, we're giving armaments to them, nothing to do with NATO. But then Russia attacks Poland, which is part of NATO. You know, how is this going to fall out of control? Because
we have no idea how this is going to play out, and it's all speculation so far.
it is.
But, you know, in terms of like Sony televisions and stuff like that, and equipment and computers and all the stuff that you find in the stores, well, who is the world's manufacturer? It's China. So, in my opinion, I wouldn't be surprised if China offer goods to Russia in return for gas and
Oh, yes,
fuel.
I think that's all. I think that's fundamental. I think that's going to happen.
And this will probably offer a lot of well, it'll obviously ease the pressure in terms of things going on in Russia, and perhaps strengthen the ties between Russia and China. But that's my opinion, and that's purely speculation. But I do think the result of this Russian-Ukrainian conflict is going to have a negative impact on Thailand in terms of tourism. And of course, the people that are stuck here are obviously going through a bit of a rough time, and that's going to need to be dealt with.
Yes.
Almost it. The only other thing I've got really is that we've just started a brand new YouTube channel.
Wow, good.
Here, you actually got the name right for the channel just now. Wow. We're calling it Hua Hin. It's the Hua Hin YouTube channel, and that's just started. So we've done a couple of interviews, and basically it's really about talking to people that live here.
Yep.
Because we've got some really unusual people that live here, and they've all got a great story. And also exploring different parts of Hua Hin and surrounding areas that a lot of people don't really know about.
Right.
So luckily, I'm not actually presenting it. We have somebody much more attractive than me to present it. So on my screen there, you can see, so this is Kunuk on the screen here, and she's just about to go and do some exploring of one of the local market areas and things. So
Perfect.
She presents the show every week. I do a lot of the video work, and the show has a sponsor already as well.
No, that's great. I think that's really, really good. I think having something local on the ground and walking around is fantastic. So, all right, well, so we'll wrap
Sure.
it up there. Yeah. So, listen, thanks very much, Richard. Good luck with the channel, and as ever, thanks very much for your time.
Great, thank you, Andrew. Good to see you again. Catch you
All right.
next time.
Speak to you later. Cheers. Bye.